Does intermittent fasting work for weight loss? And more importantly, does it work long term? Is intermittent fasting just another fad diet? These are questions I get asked all the time, and in this video, I'm going to answer all of these questions and more to give you a really solid understanding of how intermittent fasting works so that you can decide whether it's right for you or not, and whether it's a good idea for you to try it or not. Now, if you've watched me here on YouTube before, then welcome back. But if you are new to my channel, then welcome. I am Dr. Kim Foster, and I'm an MD turned coach, wellness expert, and entrepreneur. I was a family doctor for 20 years before leaving the healthcare system to focus entirely on my wellness business. And I'm also the founder of the Wellness Coach Academy, where I train aspiring health and wellness coaches and help them to build their businesses. So here on YouTube, I talk about wellness and business, and I share new videos every week with all kinds of tips to help you to master the art of living well. So go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any of my latest content. Now, let's talk about intermittent fasting. So when I first heard about intermittent fasting, I completely dismissed it. This was back when I was a practicing family doctor, and I thought it was just another fad, and possibly an unhealthy or dangerous fad at that. And like most of my colleagues, I just dismissed it outright. However, I have since come to understand it on a much deeper level, scientifically and also personally, as I began using intermittent fasting myself in 2020 and realized just how effective it was. So in order to understand how intermittent fasting works, it's really important to understand the difference between intermittent fasting and all the other diets that are out there, because there is a big difference. And that's a good thing, because in general, diets don't work. I'm pretty sure you don't need me to tell you that, though. If you're like most people, you've tried at least one or two different diets, and maybe a lot more than that. And even if they work in the short term, they inevitably lead to weight regain, frustration, disappointment. So why is that? What's going on? Well, there are a lot of factors at play here, but one of the big problems with conventional diets, that most diets, when you boil them down, they work on a basic formula of eat less and move more. It's that calories in, calories out model. And this seems like a good, logical, rational formula. It makes common sense, right? Well, the problem is it's overly simplistic. I am all for simplicity. I love finding a simple, elegant solution for things, but not when that simplicity means that you've actually glossed over some of the necessary complexity of an issue. And the truth is, the human body is a very complex thing. A few very smart people in the world have pointed out the potential danger of grabbing on to an overly simplistic explanation for things. For one, Albert Einstein said everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. Another quote that I love by H.L. Mencken is, "For every complex problem, there is an answer that is clear, simple, and wrong." So the problem with the calories in, calories out paradigm is that it is nice and tidy, but it's too simplistic. It relies on treating the body like a single compartment. So Dr. Jason Fung, who has been one of the pioneering experts in the intermittent fasting movement, he uses a very helpful analogy to describe this. He says that the single compartment model is kind of like a bathroom sink. Calories flow into the sink from the tap or out of the sink through the drain in the bottom, and any excess calories are simply held in the sink and can be used if our bodies need them for energy. Likewise, we can just drain extra calories out of the bottom of the sink if we exercise, for example. So in order to reduce the amount of weight in our body, which is the sink in this analogy, we either stop putting so much water into the sink by turning off the tap, which is otherwise known as reducing calories, or we drain more out of the bottom by exercising and burning off calories. It sounds logical, right? The problem is that this is a flawed model. This isn't how the human body works. Now, the model that Dr. Fung proposes, which is much closer to the truth, is a two-compartment model, because this model takes into account the two different ways that the body stores energy. It can store it as glycogen in the liver and body fat. So the analogy that he uses is a refrigerator in your house. Your refrigerator is your liver, and it stores glycogen. When you buy groceries from the grocery store and there's more food than you can eat right away, you put it into the fridge. Your body packages it up into glycogen and then puts it in the refrigerator. Now, there isn't unlimited space in the fridge, of course. So if you have even more food to store, once you've filled up the fridge, you'll walk down into the basement and put it into the deep freezer down there. And that's your body fat. Now, glycogen in your liver, just like the food in your fridge, it's relatively easy to access. So your body will prefer to do that when it needs energy. The food stored in your deep freezer in the basement, it's kind of a hassle to get to. So your body will only do that once all the glycogen in your fridge has been used up. Okay, so if you're with me so far, now we need to introduce the concept of insulin, because this is really where the key is, and it's where intermittent fasting comes into play. Because insulin controls how easy or difficult it is to get into those fat stores in the deep freezer, your body fat. When there are high levels of insulin, that prevents the fat freezer from being accessed. You can think of it like a lock on the deep freezer. Insulin keeps the fat in there and stops the body from breaking it down and metabolizing it. Not great, right? But on the other hand, when insulin levels are low, the body gets full access to the freezer. Body fat can be accessed and broken down for energy in that situation. And of course, that's what you want. Full access to the freezer of stored food energy, your excess body fat. This is why we stored the food there in the first place. Our bodies stored it there as a survival mechanism so that during times of food shortage, we'd be okay because we could just simply pop down to the freezer in the basement and just grab some of the food that we stored away for the winter and happily get the energy that we need. The problem, of course, is that if we do not allow our insulin levels to drop, which is what happens when we just keep eating all day long, frequent meals and snacks, we just keep a nice tight lock on our fat stores and the body keeps burning through the glycogen in the fridge. We just keep going to the grocery store, buying more food, filling up the fridge, and then just going, back and forth to the fridge, consuming what's there, rather than going down to the freezer and getting the fat out of there. I hope this explanation makes sense. Let me know in the comments if this is clear or if I've completely lost you. So let's tie this all back together with intermittent fasting. So during periods of fasting, the insulin level in your body decreases. And this is because your body is not receiving any food. And so there's no need for insulin to be released to help to regulate blood sugar levels, which is insulin's job. So when insulin levels are low, the body is able to burn fat for energy, as we've talked about, because that freezer is unlocked and accessible. Now, when you do eat during your eating periods, your insulin levels will increase, of course, in response to the food that you consume, which is totally fine and completely appropriate because you have just eaten. You want your body to be metabolically flexible. But the key here is to also allow your system periods of time when your insulin is low or zero so that you can access those fat stores. That's how intermittent fasting works for weight loss. Now, if you're interested in learning more about the science behind intermittent fasting, I highly recommend Dr. Jason Fung's book, The Complete Guide to Intermittent Fasting. It really was incredibly helpful for me when I was first trying to understand how it all works, and Dr. Fung is truly an expert in this field. Now, let's circle back to conventional diets just for a minute to go a little further with our understanding of how this all works and to explain why intermittent fasting is so much more effective for that long-term weight loss that we were talking about earlier. The basic goal of most conventional diets is to reduce your calorie intake, which is back to that calories in, calories out model of just trying to create a calorie deficit so that you can lose weight. The problem is that when you consistently consume a reduced number of calories throughout the day, that can lead to a sustained decrease in your metabolic rate. This is your body's built-in mechanism to preserve energy during periods of calorie restriction. And that's why when you stop the diet and go back to your regular eating habits, you gain weight because your metabolism has slowed in response to all of that calorie restriction. With intermittent fasting, however, there's a very different effect on your metabolism. During fasting periods, the body experiences hormonal changes. One of them is the effect of insulin, as we have just been talking about, that actually improves fat burning, which is what we want our bodies to do, of course. But studies have also shown that intermittent fasting creates an increase in growth hormone levels. And growth hormone plays an important role in weight loss because it helps the body to burn fat and build muscle. Growth hormone is produced by the pituitary gland and is involved in a variety of functions in the body, including regulating growth and metabolism. One of the key ways that growth hormone can contribute to weight loss is by promoting fat burning. Growth hormone can also help to build muscle, which of course can contribute to weight loss by increasing muscle mass and therefore raising the body's metabolic rate. This means that the body burns more calories at rest even when you're not exercising. Also, growth hormone can help to regulate blood sugar levels and improve your insulin sensitivity, which can contribute to weight loss. It's important to know that growth hormone production naturally decreases as we age, which can, of course, contribute to that age-related weight gain. And that is why intermittent fasting, which can increase growth hormone, can be such a powerful tool to combat weight gain, especially as we get older. During periods of fasting, the body increases growth hormone production as a survival mechanism to help us preserve lean muscle mass and promote fat burning for energy. Okay, so like I said, there is a lot more to this and I could keep talking, but I think that I will save more of this for future videos if you guys are interested in knowing more about the science behind intermittent fasting. But I hope that I have helped you understand just how powerful a tool intermittent fasting is and how it works with the body's physiology to bring about weight loss. Now, if you are interested in more of the how behind intermittent fasting, like how to actually get started with it, then what you'll want to watch next is the video that I am going to link on the screen, because in that video, I describe the type of intermittent fasting that I do, and it's the easiest way to get started. So just go ahead and watch that video next. I've also put together a free guide with my top 10 intermittent fasting tips, and you can download that guide by clicking the link in the description box. As always, I would love to hear from you. What questions do you have about intermittent fasting and what would you like to learn about next? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to grab my free PDF guide so that if you do decide to try intermittent fasting for yourself, you will have some pointers on how to get started. Of course, this doesn't replace actual advice from your own healthcare team, and I always recommend that you talk to your own doctor before making any changes, because only they know the details of your particular health situation. Okay, that is a wrap for this video. Take care, have a wonderful day, and I will see you again very soon.